Hello everyone and welcome to the series premiere of Essential Network Movie Club on Essential Network. I'm Peter Matthews. This is the show where we discuss the facts about your favorite movies. If you want to learn more about your favorite movies, you've come to the right place. Today we're diving into the high-stakes world of Crimson Tide, the 1995 Tony Scott thriller starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. This movie, inspired by a real incident during the Cuban Missile Crisis, pits a seasoned submarine captain against his new executive officer in a battle of wits over a nuclear launch order. Let's break it down, starting with its development. The story of Crimson Tide draws inspiration from a real event aboard the Soviet submarine B-59 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cut off from Moscow, the Soviet captain and political officer believed war had begun and really launched nuclear weapons. Only the refusal of the second-in-command, Vasily Arkhipov, prevented catastrophe, as all three needed to agree. This historical incident shaped the film's premise of conflicting orders and moral dilemmas. Hollywood Pictures executives, including studio president Ricardo Mestres, producers Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, director Tony Scott, and writers Michael Schiffer and Richard Henrik sailed aboard the USS Florida in 1993 to research the movie. Initially pitched as The Hunt for Red October meets 2001: A Space Odyssey with a rogue computer launching missiles, the story evolved into a mutiny narrative, much to the Navy's dismay. Screenwriter Schiffer wrote the role of Captain Ramsey specifically for Gene Hackman, while Robert Towne and Steven Zaillian contributed key scenes, including the rewrite of the war discussion scene, with Towne discussing changes over the phone to meet urgent production needs. Now for the casting. Crimson Tide boasts a powerhouse cast, led by Denzel Washington as Lieutenant Commander Hunter and Gene Hackman as Captain Ramsey. Washington took the role to joust with a master, eager to work opposite Hackman, who was 65 at the time, past the Navy's mandatory retirement age of 62. Hackman, a former Marine, brought authenticity, even wearing a pink cap reminiscent of Tony Scott's trademark headgear. Al Pacino was originally offered Ramsey's role, and Warren Beatty was courted extensively before Hackman was chosen. Brad Pitt expressed interest in playing Hunter, hoping to work with Pacino, withdrew when Pacino passed. Val Kilmer was offered a lead role but declined, later regretting it. The support cast includes Oscar winners Jason Robards and nominees like Viggo Mortensen, with James Gandolfini and Matt Craven adding depth. Andy Garcia was an early choice for Hunter, while Tommy Lee Jones, Dennis Hopper, and Jon Voight were considered for Ramsey. Filming Crimson Tide was a logistical challenge, as the U.S. Navy refused cooperation, deeming the mutiny plot objectionable and inaccurate. Tony Scott was undeterred. He gained access to the French Navy's Triomphant-class submarine and aircraft carrier Foch for key scenes. The iconic dive sequence of the USS Alabama was real footage captured covertly when Scott, tipped off by a civilian informant, filmed the sub departing Pearl Harbor. The Alabama's captain submerged prematurely to evade the crew, giving Scott the exact shot he wanted. The Navy protested but couldn't act, as the sub was in public view. The Alabama's bridge set, built on a hydraulic gimbal from The Hunt for Red October, tilted to simulate dives, while the dockside scene used a decommissioned USS Barbell with a plywood conning tower to mimic an Ohio-class sub. Scott often used 4 cameras simultaneously to capture the intensity, and the final 60 minutes unfold almost in real time, heightening the suspense. Now for some other things to know. Crimson Tide is packed with fascinating details. Quentin Tarantino, brought in for uncredited dialogue punch-ups by his friend Tony Scott, added the comic book bickering, references to submarine movies like Run Silent, Run Deep, and the Captain Kirk line. The character Russell Vossler nods at Tarantino's video store colleague. The Lipizander Stallions debate between Ramsey and Hunter, Ramsey claiming they're Portuguese, Hunter insisting Spanish, highlights their conflict. Both are wrong, as the horses are Slovenian, though associated with Austria's Spanish writing school. Denzel Washington, fresh from boxing training, suggested the boxing montage. The cigar smoked by Ramsey and Hunter are Montecristo No. 2s, Tony Scott's favorite brand of cigar, requiring a fire permit on set. The film's sonar panels were simplified for visual clarity, unlike real passive sonar displays. The film's VLF antenna and 1MC commands reflect real naval tech and a Navy hymn placed during the drive. And Skip Beard, a former Alabama captain, served as a technical advisor and appeared in the inquiry scene. Finally, its legacy. Crimson Tide remains a benchmark for naval thrillers, blending intense drama with moral complexity. Its real-time climax, stellar performances, and Hans Zimmer's rousing score cemented its status as a modern classic. The movie marked the first of 5 collaborations between Washington and Scott, including Man on Fire and Unstoppable. Its influence persists in pop culture, with references like Washington's Captain Kirk line echoing in his later work with Chris Pine, who played Kirk in the Star Trek reboot. The Alabama's name ties to the University of Alabama's Crimson Tide football team, with Ramsey's dog Bear a reference to Coach Bear Bryant. The set was reused in Independence Day and Agent Red, and some footage resurfaced in other productions. Despite the U.S. Navy's objections, the movie's authenticity, bolstered by research on the USS Florida, resonates. Washington and Gandolfini reunited in the movie Fallen, while Schaeffer attended the Navy ceremony for a real USS Florida's XO, showing the film's lasting naval ties. Crimson Tide endures as a gripping exploration of leadership, duty, and the razor's edge of nuclear brinksmanship. That's a wrap on Crimson Tide. From its real-world inspiration to its covert filming and unforgettable performances, this movie is a masterclass in tension. Join us next time on Essential Network Movie Club for another deep dive into a cinematic gem, and find out more about Essential Network, the straightforward choice, at essential-network.com. Essential-network.com. For Essential Network, I'm Peter Matthews. See you at the movies.